to make two announcements regarding the Phoenix Suns. The first is Jason Rowley, who's been promoted to Chief Operating Officer. And the second is Brad Casper, is the new President of the Phoenix Suns Business Operations. I'd like to first say a couple things about Jason. I first got to know Jason working on the acquisition of the Phoenix Suns. He worked for the law firm that represented our ownership group in the purchase of the Suns. And during that time period, several months that we worked together, I got to appreciate Jason's, not only his legal expertise, but really kind of his business savvy, his common sense, and his ability to try to solve problems. And I said to myself, at some point, if I ever have the chance, that's a person I'd like to work with. 4 years ago, that opportunity happened. When the opening for the Suns General Counsel came up, I called the law firm where Jason was working. They had told me he had moved on and was in-house counsel to a large consortium of auto dealerships. And I contacted him then, and he agreed to come down and interview for the position and got the job, and has spent the last 4 years working with the Phoenix Suns as general counsel. During that time period, he has had a great opportunity to work with every facet of the Suns organization, get to know the organization, and upon the departure of Rick Welch, we put Jason in charge on a temporary basis of business operations for the Suns. During that time, he's shown tremendous leadership and just very good management skills. The employees love him. He's got a great following, and I think the continuity of management with Jason and the fact that he has really deserved a promotion, and I'm very happy to be able to offer him that, and I think he will continue to be a very valued asset for the Phoenix Suns organization for a long time to come. And so congratulations, Jason.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it. And really, one of the things that I've kind of focused on, particularly over the last month or so, is just dealing with this leadership during a period of transition. And the reality is, I'm appreciative of this opportunity, but it wouldn't have come without all the hard work and support of all of our employees here at the Suns and at U.S. Airways Center. So that's something that I truly do appreciate, and I'm very thankful to the ownership group as well for feeling the confidence level in me to give me this opportunity to kind of step up to the next level in the organization.
Thanks, Jason. Several weeks ago, we announced that we were going to take on a national search for a president of business operations for the Suns. We did that. We talked to and heard from a lot of interesting candidates, a lot of qualified candidates. At the end of the day, we found what we thought to be the most qualified right here in our own backyard, and that's Brad. Brad will give you a little more details on his experience, but he spent the last 25 years in management positions in consumer brands, brand creation, brand promotion, marketing, sales at a very high level. He started at Procter & Gamble, where he spent approximately 10 years, and most recently spent the last 6 years as the President and Chief Executive Officer of Hinkle North America, which included the Dial Corporation, where he was the President and Chief Executive Officer. Brad brings with him tremendous experience in all facets of marketing, promotion, and management. He also spent 3 stints overseas in China and Japan, running consumer goods there. And really, I feel very fortunate that we are in a position to land someone with the expertise and capability that Brad has. Interesting story, a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting at a kind of a break at one of our labor meetings, talking to a few of the owners, and the topic came up of a recent article in the Philadelphia paper about the individual that the new owners of the Philadelphia 76ers have tapped to run their organization. This fella was previously had ran Vail, Ski Mountain, and prior to that was the CEO of a large cruise line, Norwegian Cruise Lines. And as you know, Mickey Arison, who owns the Miami Heat, who's there on our committee, is the chairman of Carnival Cruise Line. And he said, well, how did they ever convince someone who runs such a big business and such a big company, how did they ever convince him to go run the 76ers, which is such a much smaller business, less than a tenth the size? And the answer was, well, this fellow really had a passion for sports. He grew up and was raised in Philadelphia, and this was just something he wanted to do. And that kind of got the ball rolling a little bit. My partner, Sam Garvin, who has had a business relationship with Brad for a while, said, well, you know, Brad Casper maybe fits that mold. And, you know, he may be someone, if we could entice him into this position, could be a great coup for us. And fortunately for us, Brad had a strong desire with his family to remain in Phoenix, and also has a strong passion for basketball and a strong loyalty to the Phoenix Suns. And so with that, we were able to make a deal with Brad, and we're fortunate that he's bringing his expertise and skill set to our organization. In his previous capacity, his company had over 2,500 employees and over $1.5 billion in sales revenue, and we're about 1/10 that size in both ways. But he is passionate about the Phoenix Suns, and it's really a benefit for us and a win-win because this is something that Brad is really excited to do. I think he's going to bring a lot of innovation, creativity, new ideas, and a lot of experience to our organization, and I've got the utmost confidence in Brad along with Jason to really lead our business operations going forward. So Brad, welcome to the Phoenix Suns.
Thank you, Robert. This is a very exciting opportunity for me, needless to say. If you would have asked me 8 weeks ago, would I ever imagine being in a situation like this, I probably would have said no. But I am so grateful to Robert and Sam for this opportunity. I did move to the Valley here in April of 2005, and one of my first experiences, literally fresh off the plane from New Jersey, was an opportunity to participate as a fan in a playoff game against the Mavericks. And I remember calling my family frantically that night as I'm sitting along the baseline saying, this is unbelievable. And I did meet Sam Garvin shortly thereafter, and he says, Brad, I've always fancied the idea of, you know, being the president of Dial. And I said, I'll switch with you. And, you know, who would have guessed that now 6 years later that I might actually get that chance, not necessarily to switch, but to work with an organization that I have looked at through many lenses. First lens was as a fan of basketball. And what a product this team has put out there for so long. To have the fourth winningest record in the NBA in the last 40 plus years is really a tribute to consistency and leadership and management. The second lens I looked at was through the eyes of a father, because it was wholesome entertainment that I could engage and involve my kids in. Two of them who are here at this press conference, and a third one who's sweating away at ASU, who wishes he was here right now. And then I looked at it through the eyes of an executive who decided that there were opportunities with the Phoenix Suns to help build my brands, Dial, Purex, Renews It, Right Guard. And I said, wow, if I look at each one of those lenses, I see opportunities for success. And you might say, well, what does a guy who peddles soap, what does he know about building a basketball brand? Well, you know, they are consumer-oriented brands, and even though you may not think of it when a consumer product you take home, we try to delight consumers too. From the moment they have that first touch point with a package and bring it home, we try to make sure every experience they have with that brand is outstanding. And I want to make sure that some of the things that I've learned over 25 plus years working on some of the biggest brands in the United States, if not the world, can be transferable, and I have utmost confidence they can be transferable to a great brand like the Phoenix Suns. And I'm just delighted at this phase of my life and career, after we made a decision last year to stay in the Valley, that this opportunity would come my way. So thank you, Rick Welts, for leaving for Golden State so I can have this opportunity.
I think we can open it up for questions right now. Anyone has any questions they'd like to ask? Yes.
Being that a great deal of your previous experience has been brand related, how do you vision the Phoenix Suns brand currently, and what do you think, what's your process of kind of analyzing it and taking it to the next level?
Great question. I think that the brand is very strong from the lenses that I've talked to you about. I will want to go back and take a look at the evolution of the brand over time. I want to look at every interaction that a fan, a sponsor, an advertiser would possibly have with our brand and make sure that all the elements are still aligned. So there will be a bit of a retrospective. I'll look at a lot of film, both the advertising, the print ads, the slogans that we've used. Fortunately, under Jason's leadership, they kicked off a project recently just around in the event, that we have a successful end to the CBA and we can begin playing basketball. How can we refresh that experience with our fan base? And so there's already some really good work underway, and so I'll get to jump on that sled as it's moving already and hope that I can bring some added value. But I really believe that this brand is already very strong, but over the last few years, I don't think we've lost our way. I just don't think it's as clear anymore as to what we stand for. And I want to make sure that what we do stand for is the best entertainment sports value, not only in Arizona, but certainly in the NBA.
Bob?
I guess there's no micro.
Yeah.
Looking around for them. With the uncertain labor situation, combined with the fact the team didn't make the playoffs last year, there are empty seats, it's not quite the frenzied atmosphere there was before. What can you do from a business side to keep the brand going while the basketball side is making whatever moves it makes to try to get the product better?
Great question, and I think that Lon and I are going to have a fantastic and very, very symbiotic relationship so that I understand, where the basketball operations are going. But I believe that there's a lot of different targeting techniques. I want to review every single one of our ticket holders, how long they've been there, the suite owners. I want to look at our corporate sponsorships, because ultimately this is a question of who. Who is our target and who is filling the seats? I'm sure we have enormous loyalty with a lot of those suite holders, marketing partners, and the individual ticket holders. But I also believe that we have experiences and we can create even new experiences that others haven't been able to duplicate in any other facet of sports management here in the greater Phoenix area. I couldn't tell you exactly what those are. I've got a long list, but since this is literally the first half hour of being on the job, I can't tell you exactly where we're going. I can tell you that the innovation pipeline, and it's not limited to what I'll bring, because I think that this organization is inherently creative, and they've demonstrated it over time. And as we continue to strengthen the product on the court, I'm going to ensure that we make every effort to strengthen our product off the court as well.
Brett, you talked about, you used the term "we," talking about Henkel. Do you still have an affiliation or relationship with that company, or was that just kind of?
That's an old bad habit. I am no longer affiliated with Dial or Henkel. I was the CEO through, technically, October of last year.
Mr. Sarver, could you please clarify or explain your position on the lockout? Because there's been a lot of national media speculation that you are one of the owners that is, for lack of a better term, holding this thing up. So I think some fans would like to know where you stand, because while you are a businessman, this is also a unique business in that a lot of fans would like to see that team on the court.
Yeah, I can't comment specifically really about anything to do with the lockout at this point. Kind of prohibited from doing that. But I can say that eventually when it's over, the facts of my role and my involvement will come out, and I look forward to that happening.
Do you have any message to fans in general, just about?
I'm just prohibited from commenting about it. But as you know, don't believe everything you read.
Robert, you've got you've pretty much got your people in all these positions now.
Correct.
First of all, what does that mean to you in the way you're operating this, and how quickly do you think this has got to start to show some results on the court and in the revenue?
Yeah, I mean, I can say I can see a lot of results behind the scenes. So, for example, with our business operations and our basketball operations, I see things taking place on a daily basis. In terms of basketball, I'm privy to what is going on in that side of the office and the work that Lon and Lance are doing. And I can see that we've taken that operation to the next level. Now, that may not translate onto the court at this point, and there's obviously a lot of factors and variables there, but I can see in terms of the quality of the personnel we have, the work that's being done, the analysis that takes place, the thoroughness of everything that's being done, and the creative ideas and thoughts. So from my standpoint, as a managing partner, the person that runs the organization, you know, I feel like I can see it on a daily basis. And I think on the business side, you know, Brad will make his mark on this organization. I think his vast experience, his creativity, his innovative background will have an impact quickly in the organization. And so yeah, I feel good. I think we've got some really good people in the right place. And yeah, I guess you're right. For the first time, this is, you know, since I've had everyone in this organization in senior capacities, really people I've hired.
One more question, if I may.
Sure.
Mr. Casper,
Yes.
reading your biography here, it occurs to me that I took a wrong turn right out of college. But
Why is that?
for those, somebody like me who's not familiar with it, what was your, how did you come to part ways with your last employer? And you talked about not leaving. Did you have big opportunities elsewhere, but you wanted to stay here? Is that what I heard you say?
You know, when I came out to the Valley 6.5 years ago now, I laid out a 5-year vision and strategy for the organization and its evolution. And by this time last year, at 5.5 years, I had really felt that I had fulfilled most of the obligations, as well as, you know, punctuated in the areas that I wanted to at the company, and really transformed Dial from a somewhat sleepy, fast follower in the industry to much more innovative. In fact, within a week of my announced resignation, it was deemed that one of the Dial products that I had a big role in was voted by its peer group as the most innovative product in the category, or in fact in the industry. And so, you know, I felt like this is a good time to leave. It was a mutual decision with Henkel because, you know, the changes that I was having to make over that time frame, I was becoming increasingly less comfortable with. And so my family, immediately after resigning, I did look to move. And I got really darn close to moving. And I guess at that time, I was deluded, if you will, to think that a bigger job with more bucks would make me a lot happier, until my then 17-year-old son stood face to face with me, and I said, hey, it's okay, you're going to finish your graduation. And I said, and if we move to the East Coast, everything's going to be fine because you're going off to college anyway. And that's when he said, Dad, you're wrong. And I said, why? And he says, because I don't need you flying back on a Friday night in a fancy plane. I want you to be a part of my senior year. And I think at that moment I said, okay, we're not moving. And another businessman in town said to me, Brad, ever since you got here, you told me you've never been happier. So why is it that you would move your family if everyone is as happy as you are? And I said, you know, you're damn right. And so at that moment, it became a quest for finding meaningful work here in the Valley. And I did a lot of nonprofit and advisor roles in the past year, waiting for the right opportunity. But when Robert came to me a couple weeks ago, and I said, Robert, I cannot think of another organization, professional, for-profit, not-for-profit, that I would be more proud and more ready to run than this one. So I'm delighted to be here.
I'm sure the pay's about equal, right, Robert?
With the nonprofit.
Contract's not signed yet.
It's just a handshake.
Does the organization have any data or research showing how the possibility of missing games could affect the downtown economy? Have you guys looked into that at all?
You know, I just can't go there. I wish I could, but it's, you know, the fines are just far too heavy. Anybody else have any other questions?
You headed back there, Robert, right away?
Don't know yet.